Hello and welcome to this review of When a Princess Proposes by an author called Kerrelyn Sparks? Kerrelyn, I think, Sparks. I didn't know the author and I picked the book off the shelf in the library sight unseen. It's a library book, that's why I don't have a novel to wave around in front of the camera right now. It was fun. It was a little young adulty. It was actually not labelled as young adult, but I think from the writing and the characters that it has to be aimed at them. It's a bit love and romancy. There's a bit of non-demanding magic, a bit of adventure. I don't know if it's a romantasy. This is a brand new word in my lexicon, romantasy. I think it's a fantasy where romance is the primary factor, so there's not much world building or magic building or anything like that. Tell me what you think it means. I'm still working on that one. So, well, this was apparently one of the series. It did well enough as a standalone. It bounced between two different main characters, which I quite enjoyed. So Quentin is a shapeshifter, and as an eagle, he's a messenger and spy for this association of royal families in this world that I really don't know too much about. Never really found out that much about it. It's called, what's it called? It's called Aethlan, whatever. Anyway, it's got a family of five different families. It says embraced queens which have reigned for 20 years in peace, secured by the power of their magic, etc., etc. So on the one hand, we've got Quentin. He's this shapeshifter. On the other hand, we've got a princess. That's the princess of the title, one assumes, called Eviana. The princess, of course, is a member of one of these families, and she's got magic which has been carefully guarded secret within her family, because apparently this particular type of magic is bad, though many other types of magic is good, etc., etc. Most royal children go off to some school, but Eviana is closeted at home because of this magic that no one wants to talk about, one gathers. And when the barge on which she's travelling is attacked, she's forced into using her talent. And when Quentin comes along, he helps her disguise the fact that she has this talent which she's used, and the two of them are drawn into this adventure. So I like the fact that we moved between the two. I like the dual male-female reference points. I like the fact that both of our main protagonists were fairly sensible and fairly relatable characters. If Princess Eviana is inclined to be a bit annoyingly pushy, well, she's from a royal family, and current the ideas about self-determination in girls seem to insist that they will have to be pushing. And if Quentin is inclined to be a little bit class sensitive and overcautious, well, that sort of fits in with A, eagle shapeshifter, A, his general position within the families, especially when he's relating to the princess, and B, just his character in general. The ending of the book, which I'm not going to spoiler, stretches the reader's suspension of disbelief more than a little bit. Maybe not too badly, but my suspension of disbelief was stuttering over this one. And so, while it's fun, it is in many ways a very young adult, so more of the Y than of the A. In terms of the characters and situations and morals and motivations, they all tend to be a little bit simplistic and unsophisticated, and maybe that's just the niche this author and this type of writing is aiming for. It stood out because this book is actually often describing complex and complicated political and religious scenarios. So the treatment being superficial means that it feels a little bit childish at times. So if you're going to describe political religious scenarios, normally they're quite complex. And if you describe them in a non-complex way, it does feel young. It was a bit of fun. I like the adventuring. The world isn't particularly unusual. It's kind of, from what I remember of it, which isn't a lot, I've got to admit, it's kind of generic fantasy, European-based fantasy type background. Anyway, one quirk of the writing which really amused me, that I'm going to talk about, is scoffing. Scoff would appear to be Kerrelyn Sparks' favourite word. I've never read anything else of hers. If you have, please let me know if other books scoff as well. But when a princess proposed, I think by around page 200, I was pretty much giggling whenever I saw the word because it was so very overused. It was phenomenally overused. At least one per page, usually. He scoffed, she scoffed, Eviana scoffed, and let's face it, Eviana scoffs more than anyone else. But pretty much all characters in this book get to scoff quite often. And at one point I had that Princess Bride moment. You know the one I mean. You'll keep using that word. I do not think that it means what you think that it means. Because if we look at an online dictionary, scoff means speak to someone or about something in a scornfully derisive or mocking way. And sometimes it is used like that in this book, but not always. In the book it's used all the time. So not even mostly used that way. For example, on pages 221 to 222, Eviana leaned close. What happened? Olana scoffed. He ran away. Except we gather he did run away, so I'm not sure why you need to scoff. And I'm not sure that scoffing is actually relevant to the situation. The scoffing kept pulling me out of the story. On page 198, that was a good one as well. Quentin scoffed. If I hadn't, he might have tried something strange. Yes, he was trying to impress the princess, so arguably this is derisive, but it is an odd turn of a much overused phrase. Kerrelyn Sparks would appear to be an American author. Maybe in America, scoffing is something else. Just try it. Say scoff, 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 scoff a few times. By the end, you'll feel like you're saying scone and you'll want to pour a cup of tea, won't you? Maybe in America they use scoff differently. Maybe it's a aluminum, basil, tomato thing. And a scoff in America means, I don't know. I don't know what it can mean. It's so widely and broadly used in this book, it could mean just about anything and everything, and many things for that matter. Anyway, so all scoffing aside, it was an easy, fun little book set in a fairly interesting world concept. The fact that it's in a series doesn't matter. It stands on its own well enough. Am I going to rush out and read the rest of the series? No, there's better books out there. Am I going to actively resist reading it ever again? Well, I put no. I will read another Kerrelyn Sparks if I'm stuck in a hotel somewhere and there's nothing else to read. Would read more. Don't care about it that much. An awful lot of people on Goodreads seem to be the 4-5-star review and really, really love it. I noticed that many of them come into it from this world already. So, yeah, young adult, romance, bit of fun, fantasy. Not much more to say about it. I hope that having made a review, I will actually remember the book. That would be marvellous.